What happens after an agreement of sale is signed? So you've gone through all the negotiations and finally have a signed agreement of sale, and you might be wondering, what happens now? After all you've got is a signed piece of paper. And as we've learned in another video, it's just a promise. Nothing's actually been done yet. First of all, let's get straight on our terminology. The period of time between a signed agreement of sale and the actual sale of the house is called escrow. The house is in escrow. Other terms you might hear are under contract or pending. I use them all interchangeably. So most of the actions that need to be taken after an agreement of sale is signed are driven by the buyer and/or the buyer's agent. What can sometimes be confusing or overwhelming is that they're usually all taking place at the same time. Each of these actions takes a different amount of time, and any one of them has the potential to delay closing or even blow up the deal. Here's a quick rundown of each of the, let's call them mini projects that could take place. We'll be covering them in more detail in future videos. 1. The buyer submits their earnest money deposit. It's usually held by the seller's broker, and it's usually required within 3 to 5 days after signing the agreement of sale. 2. The title company begins the process of clearing title for closing. If there's no issues to resolve, this can take 1 to 2 weeks. If there are issues to resolve, this can majorly impact the deal. Luckily, this doesn't happen terribly often, although I do have my share of horror stories. 3. If the buyer elected to do any inspections, they get scheduled right away. There's typically a time period outlined in the agreement of sale where the buyer is allowed to negotiate repairs or even back out of the deal for any inspection-related reason. This time period is typically 10 to 14 days. 4. If the buyer is getting a mortgage, then the lender begins their loan approval process. This usually involves ordering an appraisal, which is a third-party home valuation, as well as reviewing the buyer's creditworthiness, income, debt, etc., to make sure they qualify for the loan. For most closings, the mortgage is the bottleneck because it can take 30 to 60 days depending on the type of loan. So those are the 4 main things that happen right after the agreement of sale is signed: earnest money, title, inspection, and mortgage. Since most buyers use a mortgage, then most closings take 4 to 6 weeks to complete. The cash deal and closing can be much faster. I'm Kyle McCorkle with Prime Home Real Estate, and thanks for watching.